All right, so today I'm going to show you Wiki projects. You can also do this with portfolios. I'm just going to show you it in Wiki projects because that's what I'm more familiar with. I know Miss Resta did a lot with student portfolios, so she would be a good resource to turn to for that. But as far as my understanding goes, they're pretty similar to one another. One just exists inside of a class, whereas a student's portfolio, that follows the student wherever they go. So an example is if we created a student project inside a class with Wiki projects, when the student was no longer part of your class, they'd no longer be able to see what they did, whereas if they created in student portfolios, it wouldn't matter if they were enrolled in your class any longer or not, it would just follow them. But I'm just going to go ahead and focus on the Wiki project part. Okay. So Powerschool learning has been so snappy today, it makes me a little scared that hopefully it stays this reliable for you all day too. All right, so what is Wiki Projects? Well, Wiki Projects is a way for a student to create a website in Powerschool Learning just like you're creating. It's a great tool. Some examples is I used to do a book study in the elementary where what I would have students do is they would go through and we would be reading Al Capone Does My Homework, which is about a boy who's the son of a prison warden who runs Alcatraz, and he rubs up shoulders with all these criminals from the Depression era, and it just kind of explains what I'd have the students do is explore some of these criminals that were mentioned in the books and weren't really gone into a lot of detail. So what I did was I had these kids go into these Wiki projects and they would create FBI files. So they'd have to have photos of the criminal, they would have to have video pertaining to the criminal articles, and they'd have to do a summary and write-up. So there's a whole lot of possible tools that you can use this for. How you get started with it is you click Add Content Block. It's under Messages and Activities. And then what you do is you click Wiki Projects, okay? So I'm just going to call this Demonstration. And I'll call this Demonstration 2. Okay. Now the settings on this one are actually pretty important. So you have you have a couple of options. You have a class project, which means all the students who are enrolled in your class can see everything that you're doing, can see everything that each other is doing, and they can comment on it if you set that setting, which we will get to in a second. Obviously, there's some situations where you'd want that. There's other situations where you wouldn't. There's group projects where you can go through and adjust your roster to make groups of students. So specific groups of students where those students would just go through and be only able to work with each other. So if I did groups of 3, those 3 students would be able to look at each other's projects, they'd all be working together on the same website, and they'd be able to make adjustments to each other's work. And then there's personal projects. Each student has their own Wiki project, and you can make it so they can see each other's stuff or not. So for the purpose of this demonstration, I'm going to click group, actually, let's do personal project. Each student has their own Wiki project. So next. So I can do teacher review. Students can only see their own Wiki sites. Comments are enabled, so I can talk to them about their sites. Peer review, students can view and comment on other students' Wiki sites, and peer review. Students can view other students' Wiki sites. Comments are disabled. And obviously, very easy to figure out why you'd want one of these, each one of these. This can be adjusted later on. What I normally do is do teacher review, and then once the students have finished making their sites, then I can change the settings to peer review so they can see each other's sites. Never really turned on the comments. I feel like those are pretty obvious why I wouldn't do that. I'm going to set this on the World War II subpage right here. I'm going to make the block placement so it makes it appear at the top of the page. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so we're going to go through to that page. And this is it right here. So if I click View Projects, it will show me which students have completed it. Now obviously, none of them have completed it yet. But when I go into it, the students have many of the same tools that I do. They can put in Google Sites. Not Google Sites. They can put in Google Documents from their Google Drive. They can put in PDFs. They can put in images. They can put in videos. they just have access to all the tools, and it allows them to make quick little projects. You can edit things like I mentioned. So for example, if I reviewed everybody's website, I thought that was good to go and I wanted them to be able to present to one another, I can click on peer review and click save, and then also my students are able to see each other's websites as well. So this is a great tool, especially if you're doing something with project-based learning. So yeah, feel free to reach out to me. I can't really show you any more unless I had students in my roster, which I don't. But it's pretty intuitive. If you know this, it's set up identical. All right, reach out to me if you have any questions. Thanks. Bye.